The new 7th generation Honda City has arrived in the market. So once you have a new generation of any car in the market, of course, we're going to talk about how it stands up to its rivals. Now, with the City, it takes on an even more important meaning because this is a highly competitive segment, and the City, for a long time, was the benchmark. But in 2017, when we had the then new generation of this car, the Verna, driving in, well, at the time, all our shootouts, and we did several, we got cars in like the VENTO, the CIAZ, of course, the City. It was always the Verna that came out on top. So now, with this new generation, how are things going to stack up? Yes, the battle could include the newly added 1-litre TSI VW VENTO and Skoda Rapid, the long-in-the-tooth Maruti Suzuki CIAZ, the Toyota YARIS, but those cars have already lost to the Verna, as I said. And wait, do you see a pattern here? They're all also petrol only. The Verna and City are the only remaining compact sedans with a diesel option. The Hyundai Verna recently got a well-timed refresher, and the facelifted, updated car has just driven in. We've already reviewed it and told you what's new on it, and besides that monstrous front grille, there's something more significant. This car, you see, has a black finish grille because it's the 1-litre turbo GDI. And so yes, the Verna now has a third powertrain option, and every one of its 3 engine options has an automatic variant. In case of the turbo, it's a sophisticated DCT or dual clutch transmission. But let's start with looks before we get to the performance on those engines. Now, the City is the bigger car, and it certainly looks the part. It looks bigger, very obviously. This one is trying to be sporty because we do have the turbo variant with us, and that grille, well, you know what? It's very polarizing. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare for your car cleaner. To some, it might just be an actual nightmare because it's kind of scary looking. It looks like it could, sort of attack you when you're not looking. This, on the other hand, is a little more conservative and yet looks very modern. There's a whole lot of chrome up front, which is something that Indians love. So the City is the safer design, but certainly one that will have a greater following. Yes, that is way too much chrome. But I reckon on the regular non-turbo Verna, you will get just as much of it. Only it's distributed around a larger pattern. The LED lights up front and back give the City a modern flair, and its proportions do make it appear bigger, and it is bigger, as we have established. That space really matters inside, where the City's plush cabin certainly is way roomier. This is especially true in the back, where you have better legroom, a more comfortable seat, and better headroom too. Why Hyundai chose to make the Verna on the Elantra's platform and yet not offer more space in the rear will remain a mystery. Both cars with us are in their top trim, so there's faux leather galore. The City uses a lighter beige palette, while the Verna has two-tone beige and black. This sporty all-black treatment is reserved for the turbo. The black leather with red stitching does look sharp, but overall the City looks more high-end. The City's dash is slimmer and gives better knee room for the driver. Both cars have a tilt and telescopic adjustment on the steering in the higher variants. The City still seems to be playing catch-up on equipment though. The new generation has only now got a bigger touchscreen, a digital instrument cluster, and the connected car suite of features. It also gets a G-force display, Hyundai has BlueLink on the Verna, along with other goodies like ventilated seats, a cooled glove box, wireless phone charging, a rear USB charging point, and even the smart trunk option. The City has none of those, but it gives you the country's first Amazon Alexa access.
Alright, unlocking your trunk. Please authenticate your voice PIN.
1, 2, 3, 4.
This would take about 10 seconds. Would you like to wait or explore something else?
Wait.
The Verna also has an 8-inch touchscreen. Both cars get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Both have dual airbags as standard and 6 at the top end. There's now tire pressure monitoring, ISOFIX child seat restraints, and while the Verna gets front parking sensors in the top spec, the City gets the lane watch camera view to avoid left side blind spots. Its middle passenger rear seatbelt is also a 3-point affair, which is great. At the top end, both also get a sunroof, keyless entry, a start-stop button, climate control, steering mounted controls, and a lot more. But the Verna can pamper you on equipment. So on features, it's no surprise the Hyundai clearly has an edge. On comfort and space, the Honda City has it covered. But which one becomes the better driver's car? Obviously, something like that interests me just a little bit more. Remember, we are comparing the top spec petrols here, and the Verna gets a 1.5 litre petrol just like the City, but also has this gem, the 1 litre turbo GDI. Now the two diesels may have similar displacements, but the Verna's unit is definitely more powerful and punchier. That said, the diesel is the more fun to drive model in the City portfolio. The Honda City has an updated IV tech now with a dual overhead camshaft, and so its mid-range is improved. While the regular petrol Verna's power output is a tad lower, torque is more or less the same. Both get a CVT auto option or a 6-speed manual. But when you compare to the turbo, the numbers start to look juicier on the Hyundai side, especially because of that quick charging DCT with paddle shift. The CVT on the City also does give you paddles, but there's no comparison otherwise. You expect the Honda IV Tech to be smooth and refined, and that is exactly what you get. It is a very pleasant experience driving this car, and you'll really enjoy the level of refinement that the City has now gotten to. But is it sporty and fun? No, not really. I mean, it'll do the job for you, and especially with the CVT, you find things, like I said, being very pleasant, but they're not sort of going to give you that little bit of a punch that you sometimes want from your car, especially if you're going to be the one driving it and not the one sitting at the back. Ride quality and driving comfort on the Honda City, though, easily best in class. There's a bit of turbo lag that does kick in and kind of gives you a little hesitation in that initial acceleration, something you won't feel on the City. But once the turbo kicks in, this is a whole lot more excited and raring to go than the other car. There's a better urgency to the performance in terms of just the kind of response you get, especially when you put it into sport and use the paddle shifters too. You get that instant response. The car handles pretty well, and overall you'll find that it's just a lot more enjoyable if you want to be able to drive it a little bit harder and get that sporty sort of performance that you might be looking for. The ride quality in the Verna is pretty good, but once you drive the city, you realize that that's a lot more plush. So it'll certainly feel a lot more comfortable, especially on Indian roads. Now a look at the prices in this comparison. Honda has stayed reasonably competitive, though the clear Honda pricing premium is definitely evident. Honda has also deftly left room for the old city to stay on in the market, and I expect some rationalization of these variants going forward. Remember, the old city is now petrol only. But the updated Verna's prices start a tad lower, are evenly matched on some variants, but there is a standout in that the top-end petrol automatic is 60,000 rupees cheaper than the City ZX CVT. Even the 1.0 GDI Turbo with its superior engine and DCT gearbox, which is just 14,000 rupees higher than the SXO petrol IVT variant of the Verna, is 45,000 rupees cheaper than the top-spec automatic Honda City. And then there's the fact that Hyundai has 2 auto variants on the diesel, while Honda has none. So if it's a safe, reliable, comfortable, modern, family car that you're looking for, or even a chauffeur-driven one, the City is definitely the car to go with. And it becomes a very obvious winner because of the fact that it supports a new platform, it's got a lot more features, it's bigger, and it's the Honda City. But if it's a driver's car that you're looking for, the fact that you now have a turbo option being offered here, I think it sets the cat amongst the pigeons. Hopefully, we see more such models driving in, and hopefully even Honda decides to do like an Type R version of the City. That's maybe wishful thinking, but like I said, if it's a driver's car you're looking for, it's this one.